Welcome to the bold analysis. When a magistrate was dropping Rigathi Gachagwa's case, he mentioned that we needed to come up with a pre-trial judge, he recommended, to make sure that he can filter, or rather he can look at the cases from DPP before they are taken to court, so that we avoid a situation where we take cases to court that cannot go up to their logical conclusion. The Kenya Kwanza government fashioned itself and started on high voltage projects, majorly funded from bilateral agreements and other international financiers. Remarkably, we have seen multi-billion projects from 500 billion project, UK. There's one from South Korea. We also got some 122 billion. The US that are now our new friends in the house. And the China is also knocking. Even though the finer details of the bilateral agreements are classified, but at least now Kenya have a little grasp of what sometimes happens behind the scene. And however, for the successes of this product, for the success of these projects, I've always said that when William Ruto succeeds, the whole country succeeds. No one is planning a doom for him. But there is a problem that must be addressed. Listen to it here.
Wise investors steer clear of a corrupt environment. They would rather put their resources into a place where the playing field of opportunity is equal for all and not bent towards feeding the financial lust of corrupt, lying, cheating, thieving politicians and government officials. How many wonderful development projects have been lost because the investors didn't want to do business in a swamp of evil? When those great projects go to another nation or to some other place, we all lose. Believe me when I tell you that corruption steals from you, it steals from all of us. Corruption plunders the nation's wealth. Corrupt people compromise on truth, equity, and fairness, choosing instead to feed off the short-term benefits of crookedness, exploitation, and financial perversion. Corruption is not just a personal matter, it's a culture. It's a way of life, not just for individual people, but for companies, communities, governments, and nations. Corrupt nations, hiding behind large companies, will seek to invest in other weak nations in order to take over the assets of the nation that they've invested into. They will provide financial loans to a nation for the much needed infrastructure, and they will do it with assets that they provide. They will sign contracts by lining the pockets of rotten government officials who participate in this kind of corruption and are then held hostage by their own deceit and greed. Corruption is nothing less than a form of theft and national robbery. A corrupt person steals from everyone in society. We all lose when corruption is rampant. Those who participate in corruption have chosen evil over good, lies over truth, and personal gain over well-being of all. To be corrupt means to be rotten.
From the words of the gentleman speaking in that video, if we are not careful, then I can say that our deaths are going to be our death traps. It is a matter of time. And I will address myself to PPP. But before that, I once spoke to my good friend Boni Khalwale, the Kakamega senator. And I asked him a question. Then what do you think is the problem with our governance? Then he said, number one, the problem is the fact that when leaders are in office, they want to do projects physically to be seen as them working, oblivious of whether such a project is impacting on the lives of the people. This is what he says. For example, a governor or an MP will pump government money in building a hospital so that at the entrance of the hospital at Andika, commissioned by leader XYZ on date funded by. So for the electorate to know my leader is working. But 2 months when you walk to that hospital, you'll find scarcity of doctors and even scarcity of medicine. A very ideal scenario on what's happening in Mama Lucy. A once well-funded project, very big name, Mama Lucy Hospital, but all those problems is become a reference point to problems in the medical sector. So, this is why I am saying that President Ruto must roll the sleeves. This is what is the thing. Because we took over government that did not have enough money, sat down with the treasury, then you are told we must go and borrow. I've also seen Ruto saying that we can't borrow at more than 8%, like more than 10%, because of course it's benefiting the banks locally, and these local banks are owned by some politicians. So we've gone for PPP model, private-public model, private-public partnerships. So these public partnerships, is to allow donors and other people, other wealthy fellows with money, to fund government projects, and they benefit. That is the model that was applied even for the SGR. The SGR loan was a PPP model. Okay, let me not talk about Expressway because it has never been out. I'm not privy to what was there. Recently, there is a project that is funded by UK, the dam, the Kitui Tharaka-Nithi border dam. That project, government operatives, there was a little bit of confusion between they're taking some squatters to the game park or funding them, literally, compensation. I want to tell Ruto that these mega projects will turn out to be death traps for the population if corruption loopholes are not sealed. Very good example. In Tharaka-Nithi, as we talk now in those areas, we understand that reports have been emerging that the wealthy land entrepreneurs are now winking members who stay in those areas, and they believe that there is going to be compensation. They sell their pieces of land, awaiting exorbitant inflated compensation from the government. What does that mean? At the end of the day, you'll even find out that even the compensation is made on some favorism, so that even the genuine people that are supposed to be paid do not get. That is why you'll find out that when there is a project going somewhere, there is hostility between the community and the proprietors. This hostility comes up because we don't have well-laid structures to make sure that a project that is going to take 5 years does not become disruptive in the lives of the people. Yes, we destroy things, and that is why I believe President Ruto must come out and make sure that you fight corruption. Corruption is the biggest letdown, even in improving the people's lives. You know, Murkomen once said that there is a plan to extend the SGR to Kisumu. I can tell you, hawk-eyed entrepreneurs are now asking, where is it? Itapitia wapi? Buy land from people at a cheaper price. So bad that even SGR, some people have never been paid to date. The other aspect is the use of the collaterals. Of course, because it's a loan, you need to offer a collateral. Some of these collaterals are really public structures. So when someone is saying, I'm giving you billions, you know, I took an issue with if you've been following the water project, where they're saying that through PPP, we are going to build 100 dams. These 100 dams are going to help us to have availability of water, but then that water can be used for can be sold to the farmlands. However, even though it's going to be available, but we are going to increase higher tariffs, and these tariffs will help the investor get his money. So fine, but don't you think that with such a model, we limit access to the very resource that many people want? The challenge with the PPP is that the people that are in the private sector are also in government. So in terms of even valuation, everything is inflated to make money. For you to get a government tender, you need to get someone from within. So the issue of people in government doing business with, I think, should be rubbed off. And that's why financial autonomy to the investigator is a big solution, but it must be accompanied by political goodwill. On matters corruption, it's not enough to say that we are not going to use the police to settle political scores. That's a political statement in the political rally. But behind the scene, for a junior officer to go and investigate a senior governor, not a senior governor, governor, or a senior government officer, it will need the goodwill of the high office. So on matters, I've seen even the different efforts that have been put to make sure that this country is afloat. We need to make big strides. And to Ruto, PPP, we should look at PPP. Otherwise, that will be going to the biggest loophole that can be used for Kenyans not even to get the services they need.